Toot, toot, baby, it's time to ride the funk train. This is Funkmaster V coming back at you with an informative video today about the very real problem with Uber and Lyft and other ride-sharing services in the Great Smoky Mountains. Besides making movies and doing paranormal TV and comedy and all this stuff, I run a taxi cab company based in this region, and I think it's very important. If you're coming down here to visit Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, the Great Smoky Mountains, it's the second largest tourist attraction on the East Coast, but behind Orlando. And there's a misconception here that things are going to be normal, and they're not. So let me read this to you. Now, if you don't want to listen to this video and you want to read this instead, this article I just wrote is available at uptowncabsofrenown.com. Again, that's uptowncabsofrenown.com. But this is the problem we have in our Great Smoky Mountains. This may sound like a taxi hack propaganda piece, but I assure you it's a public service announcement for those who are unfamiliar with the area. As a local taxi owner, I hear desperate pleas after the bars close for the night or early Sunday mornings at 5 a.m. Oh, thank God you've picked up. I've been waiting on Uber and Lyft for an hour, and it just timed out and canceled, and I need to be at the airport in 32 minutes. Sadly, I hear this a bunch. Even worse, I'm normally booked with people who plan better, and I can't help the desperate. After I tell them I can't help, tourists from all over have to do the taxi list rundown, desperately trying to find a ride to the airport or a show with bought tickets, or back to the hotel cabin to avoid the PI charge by the very tenacious Gatlinburg police. It's a real problem, yo. Firstly, Uber and Lyft are receding across the country in rural areas, and it baffles me on why it took this long. Don't let the upside-down house, the King Kong, the Titanic, and the LA-like traffic fool you. Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge is in the middle of nowhere. We are rural. Uber drove down prices of taxi fares, decimated taxi companies across the country, including mine. I once had the third largest taxi company fleet in Knoxville. They eliminated tips and now raise their prices back to be more expensive than what we used to charge the taxi companies. Many taxi companies are gone, and less people want to drive rideshare now. I understand why Uber and Lyft are popular. The technology is terrific, and most of the time you don't have to deal with some creepy-ass taxi creep. But eventually more and more people have lost the allure of ragging out their own personal rides for pennies on the mile, and the employment pool has shrunk because of less dramatic taxi-adjacent employment opportunities like DoorDash and Instacart and beyond. So, something you may not know, Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge are small towns. The entire county only has about 50,000 residents, while servicing 15 million tourists a year, making it the second largest tourist attraction on the East Coast behind Orlando. Folks from Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Miami, they're flabbergasted at the lack of ride sharing here, but sadly, here we are. So why does ride sharing outright suck in the Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge area? While some rogue and Uber Lyft dudes do occasionally show up, including some parents on vacation who are trying to recoup their exorbitant vacation costs with a little part-time taxi work on the side, they can't carry the load of the region. Why? Well, Gatlinburg, the area, has the perfect storm of why this is not a great area for ride sharing. Number one, Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, and Gatlinburg are not grid cities. The three main cities in this county exist in a straight line. This makes it almost impossible to pick out a cherry spot to sit and wait for rides. A grid city has opportunities everywhere. You come, you go, there's opportunities going everywhere. But in this straight line, an Uber driver doesn't have a great spot to hang out with. Number two, cell phone service is atrocious. The interfering mountains and the fact that tens of thousands of visitors are soaking up the cell phone packets at the same time make internet activity frustrating to deal with for any app or internet application, but especially ride-sharing apps. Number 3, Tennessee's speed limits and the traffic in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge outright suck. And the cops love writing tickets. You can't get anywhere fast here. Even the little local-only backwoods kind of sneaky moonshine routes that the locals always knew because of Waze, because of Google Maps, all the tourists are now back there. And besides, those twisty, turny roads aren't safe to drive fast on anyway. Number 4. The unique Tennessee terrain and the big city traffic make a really lethal transportation combination of cars. Between the constant rush hour stop-and-go ooching and the loads of 6 to 10 buffet lovers crammed into a Dodge Caravan in the hills, the mountains, the chasms, dirt roads, inexperienced taxi owners and rideshare drivers drag their cars out at alarming rates, making number 5 on this list an unavoidable dilemma to deal with. And number 5 on the list, and the final part of this, is there's not a lot of auto mechanics in the county or in the area that are cheap and trustworthy. Yep, I said what I said. So what does this mean for you, the tourist, the wayfaring stranger? Plan ahead. Secure taxi rides the day of or days before you need them, especially to the airport on Sunday and Monday. The Uber app may say there is a ride to the Knoxville airport from your cabin, and it's only $68, but this is a lying unicorn. This does not exist. That person will never show up. Bet me. Expect to pay about $150 to get to your flight. Taxi companies in the area are normally ran by 1 or 2 people, so if they are asleep and their phone is on vibrate, you are out of luck unless you've planned ahead. Consider renting cars or riding the trolley. Even though the trolley schedules are hard to keep up with and they are slow because our traffic sucks, they are cheap and it's kind of fun to ride them once a year. I'm always here to help. Ask me what's best for you, and I'll advise you the best I can. I'll even refer you to different companies if I know they're located closer to where your cabin is or your hotel. Or I may tell you, if you're a female or a group of females, which companies have only female drivers, so you won't get the creepy taxi guys that are like, hello, oh my God. I want you guys to have a lot of fun. Much love from Funkmaster V. Just plan your schedules when you come into our mountains ahead of time. Odds are you're not going to win the Uber and Lyft lottery when you need them, because guess what? That's when everybody else is going to play the Uber and Lyft lottery. And you're going to lose. I'm sorry. I hear it all the time. Anyway, God bless you. Rock and roll. Believe in the funk. Check out our movies at bigandfunkyproductions.com to see what we make. Also, our show, Wrestling with Ghosts. And if you need a taxi ride or a ride to the airport, call little old Funkmaster V. I'd love to take you for a spin.